Count 1, aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree that the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding Count 1 beyond a reasonable doubt. The homicide was committed for pecuniary gain, and the homicide was committed by means of the administration of any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity. Count 2, attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding Count 2 beyond a reasonable doubt. The attempted homicide was committed for pecuniary gain. Count 3, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 4, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 5, forgery. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of forgery. It's signed by the foreperson. Please have a seat.
What happens when love stops being about connection and starts becoming about survival? When it's no longer just I love you, but instead I need what you provide. Because when love turns into dependency and dependency turns into fear of losing everything, people don't always respond in a calm way. Today, we are talking about the case of Kouri Richins, a Utah woman convicted by a jury in connection with the death of her husband, Eric Richins, in 2022. According to the case presented in court, Eric died after ingesting a lethal amount of fentanyl. But what makes this case stand out isn't just how he died, it's everything surrounding it. The financial pressure, the strain behind the scenes, and what was happening in this relationship before his death. After Eric's death, Kouri publicly presented herself as a grieving widow. She even wrote a children's book about grief. But as the case unfolded in court, a very different picture came into focus. The jury heard about debt, an affair, financial strain, life insurance policies, and Eric taking steps to protect his assets and his children. There is no indication that Kouri knew about every step Eric was taking to protect his assets or his children. But we do know there were signs of strain in the marriage. At one point, Eric had spoken with a divorce lawyer, even though they stayed together. And there were disagreements around money, including concerns about her spending for her business. At the same time, there was real financial pressure and debt, the kind of pressure that doesn't just affect your lifestyle, it affects your sense of stability. And when you look at all this together, relationship strain, financial pressure, and conflict around money, it's possible she may have started to feel a loss of control. And when this shift begins, especially under pressure, fear can follow. Fear that things are changing, fear of instability, and fear that the relationship itself may not last and that the other person may choose to leave. And when someone starts to feel like everything they depend on is at risk, this is when things can begin to escalate in a more serious way. There is a pattern here that does not always look dangerous at first. In my work as a clinical social worker and therapist, I've seen this pattern over and over. Not to this extent, but the pattern itself is very familiar. It can start out looking like support and slowly turning into something that feels like a trap. And over time, it can become dangerous. Sometimes in relationships, love shifts and it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in stages. It starts with connection. Two people building a life together, sharing responsibilities, leaning on each other. But this part is normal. Needing your partner is not the problem. The problem starts when what your partner provides becomes the only way you feel secure or the only way you feel like you matter. Little by little, what they bring into your life emotionally, financially, socially starts to define how you see yourself. At some point, it's no longer just, I love you. It becomes, I need what you bring into my life. The stability, the lifestyle, the access to money, the sense of comfort. Because now losing that person does not just feel emotional, it feels like losing who you are. This is the turning point. The relationship stops being about love and starts being about control. And control often grows quietly, not all at once, but in small changes that slowly begin to reshape how the relationship feels. When someone feels like everything they have built is tied to you, your choices don't just affect the relationship, they start to feel like a threat to their survival. And when someone reaches this point, their thinking can start to change. The person they once depended on may no longer be seen as a partner, but as a major threat to everything they feel they need. This shift doesn't excuse anything, but it helps us understand how someone can cross very serious lines. And when Eric started pulling back, talking to a lawyer, protecting his assets, protecting his children, this is when the shift became critical. It is no longer just about conflict. This major shift changes everything for someone who believes they cannot live without what you provide. We can't know exactly what someone is thinking, but we can understand patterns. When a person's sense of self, their lifestyle, their sense of safety is wrapped around another person, the idea someone could choose to leave and there's nothing you can do to stop them can create intense fear. And when fear becomes overwhelming, some people move into desperation. Desperation doesn't excuse anything, but it helps explain how someone might cross lines they never imagined crossing. Let's think about our own lives. If you give less emotionally because you are exhausted or financially because things have changed, what happens? Does your partner lean in with understanding, or do you feel pressure to stay the same no matter what? Do you feel supported, or do you feel like you are carrying everything? You might notice you feel guilty for taking a much needed break or saying no. You feel pressure to give more than you have. Your quote unquote no is met with distance, frustration, or silence. And over time, you stop feeling like a partner and start feeling like the source of money, the source of stability, the source of everything. And very little comes back to you. So, what do you do with this? First, be honest with yourself. If something feels off, it is. Don't minimize it. Don't explain it away. Take it seriously. If something doesn't feel right financially, emotionally, or behaviorally, don't ignore it. Patterns matter more than explanations. Tell someone you trust. Don't keep this to yourself because isolation can make situations more dangerous. When someone feels like they are losing control, their behavior can shift. More pressure, more urgency, more intensity. This matters. Set small boundaries, not to push someone away, but to see how they respond, because their response will tell you everything you need to know. If your boundaries are dismissed, ignored, or make things worse, pay attention. If you are constantly drained, constantly pressured, and not being met with sweet, loving, tender care, this is not a balanced relationship. You are giving more than you are receiving. And over time, this can become dangerous. Start documenting what you are experiencing, not for them, but for you. Because when you are in it, it's easy to question yourself. Patterns don't lie. If you feel controlled, overwhelmed, or like you may need to leave, start preparing quietly, intentionally. Learn your finances, gather important documents, know your options. And if there is any fear of retaliation or escalation, take this seriously. This is something to plan around. If you feel like you are in immediate danger, your safety comes first. If you can, call 911 or reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. And if picking up the phone feels hard, start somewhere. You can go online to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at thehotline.org and use their chat feature. You can also text quote unquote start to 88788 to connect with someone safely. Don't stay in it by yourself. Leaving isn't easy, but staying in something that is breaking you comes with a cost as well. Your peace, your identity, your sense of self. If you are struggling with the decision to leave, ask yourself, am I staying because this is healthy or because it is familiar? You deserve to feel safe, seen, and genuinely cared for. Trust yourself, even if you can't fully explain it, even if it doesn't look bad enough. If something feels off, this feeling deserves your attention. You don't need all the answers to take steps to protect yourself. Your safety comes first. The jury reached a conclusion that is deeply unsettling, that Eric became more valuable dead than alive. Nothing justifies ending another person's life. Not stress, not money, not fear, not loss. There is always another choice. And that's what makes this case so difficult to sit with, because something that may have started as love can slowly shift into something where a person is no longer valued for who they are, but for what they provide. In this series, we are going to keep examining these patterns so we can recognize them before they become dangerous. If this resonated with you, like, comment, and share, because someone you know may be going through this as well and just doesn't have the words yet. Take care of yourself, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Pull up a chair. There's more to the scene, not just the crime, but what it means. You've read the headlines, still asking why. What lives beneath the public eye? Dear Misty, dear Misty, what are we really seeing? You read between the lines so carefully, dear Misty. Not just what they did, but who they've been and how it all begins. Dear Misty, what are we really seeing? You read between the lines so carefully, dear Misty.